Hey guys, Flo from Off to Lens here. I'm a French-Australian filmmaker, and today we're going to talk about B cameras and the one that I use, the EOS R. So I'm going to talk about why and how I use the R as a B cam, my experience shooting with it for a year and a half now, and also what I was looking for in a B cam when I started researching for one. I hope this will be helpful to you if you're looking to buy a secondary camera or if you're just interested about the EOS R as a video camera. Before I start, don't forget to subscribe to see more videos like this one, and let's get into it. So we often talk about gear and especially cameras, but we never really talk about B cameras and how important they can actually be. So as you know, I'm a Blackmagic shooter these days, and you're probably wondering why I'm talking about the EOS R, especially since it's not the most exciting camera or the latest. I've actually always shot with Canon cameras. A lot of my documentary and commercial work have been shot on cinema cameras, Canon cinema cameras. So I've owned and used the C100 Mark II and the C200 for a few years as well. These days the BMPCC 6K is my main camera and I absolutely love it. I love the codecs, I love the image, I love the menus, the value, pretty much everything about it. But on a lot of projects I actually do need a B cam that could be for interviews, that could be as pure backup. The funny thing is that the R actually didn't get a good start at all. I think people were complaining a lot, myself included. But I actually had the opportunity to shoot with it a few times a year and a half ago, and the more I shot with it, the more I realized that I really liked the files and that they were quite similar in terms of look and color and then my C200 files that I had at the time. So I decided to get one to give it a go and see how it would work as a B cam. And it's not the perfect camera, but as a B cam I found that it works really well. So this is what I'm going to talk about, and here's why. So first of all, what to look for in a B camera. Of course, the B cam needs to be able to be matched as close as possible to your A cam. For me, that meant to be able to match the C200 and the Pocket 6K as well. I have shot in the past C200 and Pocket 4K, C200 Pocket 6K, and I happened to be able to match them pretty well. So I knew from the start that getting a Canon camera for me would probably be the easiest thing. Not only because I know the camera, but because I have used them together with Blackmagic as well. The second thing is to have the ability to shoot log. I think everyone knows now, shooting log helps you in the grade, you get more detail, and to be able to match your A cam, being able to shoot log is just a huge help. So I don't think, even for me, like for personal content or travel content, I always shoot log. I don't think I remember the last time that I didn't shoot log. It's probably when my camera wasn't able to, and I think these days most cameras do, but if you're getting a B cam, make sure that you can shoot log as well. Price. Being a secondary camera, I didn't want to spend the same amount of money that I did in the A cam. So for example, the EOS R is around $2,000 or slightly less. And that might seem like a lot of money for a few people, but in terms of filmmaking gear and video camera, it's actually pretty low. So obviously cameras fluctuate in price, and you can have a red, so it means that if you're spending $30,000, you could buy a Pocket as a B cam, and that still is a lot cheaper. But for me, having the Pocket 6K as an A cam, I didn't want to spend maybe like 3 or 4 grand on another camera. I just wanted something that was half the price or close as a B cam. So the EOS R fit perfectly in terms of price. Resolution, bitrate, and file size. So I knew that this camera would be mainly used for interviews, backup, and reviews as well. So I didn't really need anything too crazy in terms of specs. And I needed to be able to store them easily and edit them quickly. And the fact that I can actually shoot 4K was enough, and the fact that it could actually be stored on an SD card was even better. Ease of use. Another reason to get a B cam for me is that there's 2 of us, Ams and I, or sometimes someone else that I'm shooting with. So having someone that can actually operate the camera at the same time is great, and having the camera that's easy to operate for that person is even better. You don't really need anything else right out of the box. It's ready to be used. You just need a media, like a card and a battery, and you're good to go. The only thing that I did add on top of the EOS R was a cage, so I could put my top handle and can swap between the Pocket and the EOS R if I need to. Reliability. Knowing that your B cam is reliable and you can count on it is essential, very important, and a big relief when you go out on shoot. I think it's the same thing as like having a few batteries or having a few memory cards. And I've never had any issue with Canon cameras or Blackmagic cameras for that matter, but Canon cameras have a reputation for being very reliable, and that's one of the reasons that I picked the EOS R as well, and I haven't had any issues so far. It just works, and it always does. Autofocus. The main thing that I miss from my C200 going to the Pocket 6K is autofocus. It's not something that I use on a day-to-day or on every shoot, but when you shoot with two cameras, like doing an interview for example, it's pretty good to know that the second camera, if you have someone operating it or not, has autofocus, and you know that that person, the talent, will always be in focus. And that's also a feature that comes really handy when you film yourself doing YouTube, for example, or vlogging, if that's your thing. Knowing that you're in focus actually takes that away from the equation. You can actually focus on the framing, the other settings, the story that you're telling, and things like that. Weather sealing. For someone like me that spends so much time outdoors doing documentary or travel videos or personal content, I wanted my B cam to be able to capture content when the A cam couldn't in any condition. For example, when I was in Antarctica, we got hit by a snowstorm, and it was snowing like heavily, crazy wind and temperatures below zero. And I'm glad that I had the EOS R with me, because that meant that I could actually still capture content and get some really cool shots. And I was actually surprised with how good the image looked despite the situation. A lot of people are worried about the Pocket, for example, a bigger expensive camera to take it outside in the rain. Having a big cam is for that as well. You just know that you will always be able to capture the content no matter what. This can also work in another situation when your main camera is too big, and that happened to me in London, for example, on a shoot. And I got told off by so many people going to the subway with a camera and that kind of thing. Having a small B cam that still shoots good quality video is very useful, because you can actually just use it as a regular tourist and still capture content that will be able to be used in the final edit and matched to the main camera. Mount. When you're about to get a B cam, choosing a mount is very important. As a tip, I would say to get the same mount as your A cam. That might seem like an obvious idea, but when you start looking into cameras, you might find a camera that you like, but it could be a different system. And I feel like it's a lot easier not to do that, to get the camera that's exactly the same mount as yours. So you can actually already use the lenses that you have. You don't need to invest even more. So you're just investing in the camera, but not in the system or accessories. And the funny thing is the EOS R is actually an RF mount, but I have the adapter EF to RF. So it means that I can use both RF and EF lenses, whether I'm shooting stills or video. And I can actually use the same lenses that I'm used to on the Pocket and swap. This also means that I can have two cameras with me when I'm shooting, one with a long lens, for example, and one with a wide angle, and be able to swap the two lenses and be able to take stills at the same time and taking videos, and being able to just not have the lenses in my backpack, but just have the two cameras. And that's what I've done in Antarctica, what I was carrying the two cameras at the same time, because I was also shooting stills. YouTube. So the more I started to post on YouTube, the more I realized that I needed something that was smaller and quicker to set up than the C200 to do talking heads like this, but also to shoot reviews or anything YouTube related. So having autofocus, for example, is a huge help, like I was saying before. And the EOS R is actually the camera that I use for all my reviews, so all the product footage that you see, but also the one that Ems is using when she's filming me when I'm doing reviews outside, or any footage, any BTS footage of projects that we're shooting, like documentaries or commercials. We'll bring the EOS R with a lens and then just shoot a few shots like that. Now, of course, the EOS R isn't the perfect camera, far from it. So here are a few limitations. So the first thing is that it's not a video camera. It's not aimed at filmmakers. It's a hybrid camera. It's a stills camera that shoots great video, or a decent video camera that shoots amazing stills. And I think you would need to invest quite a bit in it to make it a proper video cam, especially when it comes to audio and rigging. The other thing is it can only shoot 30 minutes at the same time, so that's not really a problem. It's very rare when I actually record more than 30 minutes in one go. But for an interview, you can actually get up to that time limit pretty quickly, so you just have to stop and create multiple video files, which can be annoying. The codecs are also not as strong. Obviously, you don't have ProRes and you don't have RAW, so that means that while it's easier to shoot with it because they're smaller files and you can store them very easily, you have to also be a little bit more careful when it comes to exposure, and you need to nail it a little bit more because you've got less room in post to play with it. So in terms of frame rates as well, 4K 30p is the only thing that you get, and I say only because we kind of use now of having 4K 60. So that's a bit of a problem. If you want to do slow-mo in 4K, then you just can't. So there is 60p in 1080, but I've actually never used it. So that's it for me today, guys. Hopefully this was helpful to you. If you like the video, just make sure to subscribe and give it a like. And also let me know in the comments what is your B cam if you use one. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.